Hello, world. This is America's Supermom, and this is a special edition that I call the Corona Chronicles. During this time, we are suffering from a pandemic that is affecting everyone across the world. We are joined with the rules and regulations of being shelter in place, which means we are limited with the ability to go about our daily business, confined to our homes based on a coronavirus that has been sweeping the entire world. For some people, the effects could be mild. For others, it can be fatal. So we are coming together as a community, as a family during this time of difficulty to share what it is like in our part of the world, how we are affected, and the things that we have in common, what kind of problems that are taking place in our industries and in our relationships and finances, and coming together so that we can plan for a better tomorrow. As this epidemic or pandemic crosses the world, we are waiting for relief. We're waiting for the virus to die off and for us to go back to some state of normalcy, whatever that may be, after things kind of settle down. So, what is that going to look like once the dust settles? How are things going to be different? So, as we go through this process, we're coming together as a world to create ideas, strategies, connect in ways that we have never connected before. So, that is the purpose of the special podcast that I call the Corona Chronicles, so that we can get some insight and have empathy and compassion on one another, create new innovative ideas that can not only improve our life, but our fellow brothers and sisters across the world. Thank you so much for joining us. Listening today, I am really excited about my next guest, Wanda D. Hollis, the motivational queen. This is just somebody who really has positive energy, a great person to listen to some nuggets from in lieu of what we're experiencing today. I find a lot of people, it's all about perspective. And I love the way that she consistently is able to tackle hard things, but with a positive spin. So I'm excited to have her here. We met organically over Facebook, I believe. No, actually, someone introduced me to her. I went to one of her events, her and my husband, and so we met. I want to say that's probably like 3 years ago. But we've been able to collaborate on quite a few things. So I'm really excited to have her today. So at this time, I'm going to give her the floor so she can introduce herself before we get into the interview.
Okay, thank you, Lachelle.
Hmm.
I am very, just very honored to be here. So thank you for all of the work that you do. It definitely is making a difference. And I am originally from Detroit, Michigan, kind of moved here to Atlanta over 20 years ago with my
Hmm.
with my two kids. Now I have five lovely grandkids, and they are truly the apple of my eye. The areas that I work in is in personal development, leadership training, marketing with very high intent in marketing and media management, those areas. I'm a certified John Maxwell coach, trainer, and speaker. And I have a couple of different broadcast um, platforms that I use to just help people break some of the fear of being exposed,
Mm.
because I've learning that being in business is not enough. So That's pretty basically my business model. I am an author, published author, also a published and recorded spoken word artist. I primarily do a lot of speaking, events, and training. Those are my platforms, and I just help promote other people's businesses in the course of doing that. And my general philosophy is just that I want to see everybody win, so that's the spirit that I operate out of. Just always trying to give a hand up, not a handout, but a hand up.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and that's just me in a nutshell.
That is awesome. So, I mean, so many different things that we can dive into, especially with the personal development and then the concept. We'll just start with the media because you have several platforms that allow you to expand your reach. So, we have people that are kind of leery of the media right now. We're in this situation, they don't know what to believe. So, speaking as someone who deals in the media every day, what
Mhm.
advice would you give someone to kind of navigate through the waters of the media at this time?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and it's also a deep concern. So, what I would say to our listeners is to don't be consumed, with the
Mm-hmm.
information that they take in, to be mindful of it, but also give your body opportunity to detox, because when you take in a lot of stuff, we're energy, we transfer energy one to the other, and it's very critical at this point that you guard your energy. So, maybe you have to set a schedule. I know personally for myself, I had been off for 3 days, and that was
Mm-hmm.
like no, I wasn't TV, I wasn't on the internet, I was just totally withdrawn from those activities because I do spend a lot of time on the internet, and you see all of these stories, you hear all of this stuff, and it takes a toll on us. So I push for people to stay in alignment with self care and self love, and just feeling what they have to feel, but then also knowing that, okay, I can take a break from that. And what that
Mm-hmm.
break looks like, it may be going for a walk, catching up with some old friends you haven't talked to in a while, just for some laughs, watching a funny movie, doing some coloring, just it's just so many things that we can do to get our minds off of what the current situation looks like.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And, that is great advice. Even, you're someone who's in this industry. So, if you have to detox, so to speak, and I love the way you say detox because, we always refer to detox with things that you eat,
Hmm.
but you're saying this even with things that we consume, be it through the media. So that is just a very profound way of looking at it. Now, when it comes to personal development, because that's another big um, thing right now where people are having this time to reflect or, reevaluate some things, what advice would you give them in terms of taking this time to do the right kind of personal development? So
Hmm.
what are some key things that they should include when they're taking this time to think?
Right. So, when you, one thing about the personal development is you always want to be aware of who you are, you know.
Mhm.
So, I would say the biggest part of personal development is to do your own evaluations to understand what your needs are, where your strengths lie, where your weaknesses are, what do you want to focus on, what's important to you. Think about,
Mhm.
like, we've written, vision boards, and we do daily goal setting, or however you do that, of the things you want to accomplish. But in all honesty, then some of those things become not as important.
Mm,
So it's like in relationships, you have to say, okay, what's important to me now in this relationship with self, because you're definitely in a relationship
mm,
with self, as opposed to what was important with me important to me 6 months ago. Those things change. So
mhm,
once you do these evaluations and become more aware of who you are, then you can better dive into the areas that you need to pay attention to, you know, and start
mm,
giving your
mhm,
attention to those areas and whatever resources you need to reach out for, whatever things you need to start, then you start taking the information differently you know um
mhm,
One thing that I see, and I know this still speaks to personal development, is you're on the computer and you're being flooded with ads, like, here's your chance to learn this, here's your chance to learn this, here's your chance to learn this, and people will sign up for a lot of stuff. And you want to be
mhm,
cautious in that, because you have to say, you know what, can my brain consume all of this information right now? Chances
mm,
are you can't. So you really, really need to go just really slow and steady and focus on one
mhm.
thing, and then accomplish that, and then turn the table on something else. So
I like that.
those would be my
Mhm.
major, suggestions on when it comes to personal development.
Now, so you brought up a key thing when you said that we're in relationship with self. So, can you kind of dive into that? Because a lot of people, this is really the basis, in my case, overcoming
Mhm.
depression to the point of being hospitalized 3 times. I didn't have a relationship with
Mhm.
self. I was doing everything on the outside, checking all the boxes, serving people, and I didn't even realize that I didn't have a relationship with myself. I really didn't know who I was.
Mhm.
So a lot of people, their world is feeling like the rug has been pulled out from underneath them, and maybe they are at this point where they are in a place that's unfamiliar, and they don't really know what a relationship with self is. So can you kind of
Mhm.
dive into explaining that
Mhm.
for
Yeah,
someone?
and
Mhm.
Michelle, that is so true with a lot of what we go through, is we attach our titles to our worth.
Mhm.
And then when you don't
Mhm.
have that title, then it's like, I don't know where my value is.
Mhm.
So, for a mother that said, "Oh, I'm a mother," but you're not just a mother, or you're not just
Right.
a wife, or you're not just the CEO of your company. So in in the response to, when to self, is that reflection of you that you see. That's you in your essence, your spirit. You're alive,
Mhm.
you're abundant, you're all of these wonderful things. You're unique, your DNA is, you're
Mhm.
independent, and we get lost.
Mhm.
So we have to remind ourselves constantly how great we are, and
Mhm.
some people would argue with, oh, then it becomes ego, but no, it doesn't. It becomes you understanding that you are the single person, and you don't need the validation, you don't need the
Mm.
associations to be strong, because you are strength. So when you get into tune
Mhm.
with your body and you start listening to your body, you start, and it takes so much work, because again, that's that subconscious, conscious kind of like battle that we're
Mhm.
having, what you've been taught to believe and what you want to change or turn into. So it's that struggle, it's that
Mhm.
constant internal struggle. And you have to be very, very, and I can't, the best word is aware. We have to just be aware of, you okay? Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Get you some water. Get you
Just
some
went
water.
down the. Yeah.
You can't be over there strangling on me. This
I
won't
know.
be good. Like, this would not be good at all. I'd be like, what happened? I don't know. Wanda just kept talking, and Lachelle was just coughing and passing out, and she's just like act like she didn't hear. Like, what's going on? No, it's just the water, mama.
Okay.
No, but
Oh,
but
okay.
and it's so easy, especially during this time, to get into or
Mhm.
any. And I always say, like, anytime it's good until it's not.
Right.
It's good and then it's not, and
Right.
it happens just that quickly. So you have to say, you know what? Let me do the things that I need to do to always be loving the person that I see in the mirror.
Mm. Mm.
So
Mhm.
there lies your choices. If I choose this,
Mhm.
would this say, "Hey, I love you, girl," or would this say,
Right.
like the sarcastic and the negativity, will that draw that up? And so if it's going to draw that up, then you
Right.
probably could not do that thing right there.
Mhm.
Like, no. And
Mhm.
and when I say, and
Mhm.
I mean that wholeheartedly, because think about it. You know people that you can call and they will lift you up or they will pull you down.
Right.
Now, why would you want to call somebody right now that will pull you down when you're dealing with self issues? You don't have the strength for
Right.
that. For
Mhm.
even for a person like myself, when I make those phone calls, I'm watching my timer and I'm already saying this person got 5 minutes because I'm only getting ready to
Mm.
absorb their energy for 5 minutes. And then I'm out of there.
Mhm.
And I excuse myself. I
Right.
answer the phone with like, "Hey, but or if even if I make the phone call, I'm just checking on you, just want to see how you doing. Don't have a lot of time." And they just go on, and that 5 minutes seem like internal. And what am I saying? Int, inter,
Turn
eternity. It
eternity.
feels like eternity because I'm like, oh my goodness, this 5 minutes, and I'm watching the clock count down the longest 60 seconds
Right.
ever. But I dedicated and I
Mhm.
told myself they got 5 minutes. I didn't tell them that, but I
Mhm.
told myself. And then I said, I'm
Right.
out.
Right.
And I said, hey, okay, sweetie, I gotta go.
Mhm.
It was great catching up. I gotta
Mhm. That's good. That's
go.
good. I love how, you set
You
limits.
got
That's a
to.
boundary. See, that's another thing people don't realize, boundaries are things just like that, because we kind of associate boundaries as saying no or certain things. So you brought up a very good point with that. Now, for somebody who, you're thinking, is this person going to bring me up or
Mhm.
bring me down? We are not even in that space. We are somebody who is going through the motions of what you
Mhm.
always do. So I like the fact that you bring up, just set a timer. But for somebody who is like, for me, I was robotic with some of
Mhm.
the stuff. You just have that situation where you're doing what you always do. That's all you know. It's no feeling, no dreaming, none of that. So setting a timer is good. What are some other things that they could kind of begin to break the mold on that routine and checklist type
Yeah.
of mentality that's
Yeah,
robotic
and
and
you
getting
brought up
out
a
of that?
good point because it is hard to do that because I've talked to some of my clients and they'll say, I was on the phone with such and such for 2 hours. I'm like, what? What in tarnation feather claps are you doing on the phone for 2 hours? Well, they just didn't want to get out. So again, it speaks to learning how to take control of yourself, of your time, of
Mhm.
saying no, learning how to say no. And I don't know if I really have the answer to that, Lachelle. All I know is
Mhm.
you have to
Mhm.
decide what's important to you. Is it more important for you to be a
Mhm.
people pleaser or to become or find the power within yourself to make those choices that are going to
Mhm.
be a benefit to yourself, your spirit, your mind, your soul? Are these the choices that you want to make, or do you want it's like anything. I mean, lower vibrations is no different from that person that's on drugs. It's no different. It's no different.
Mm.
So it comes
Mhm.
down to you having a
Mhm.
meeting with your creator saying, I desire to change. So one thing about it is what
Mm.
if something has clicked inside of your mind and say you need to change, now it becomes setting new patterns, you know. Setting new patterns. What do you do?
Mm. Mhm.
Like there's so much stuff you can do. Start speaking different to yourself. What you say to yourself is very important. So you
Mhm.
say positive affirmations that you start to believe in, and all
Mhm.
you have to do is just make it a habit, because nothing happens
Mhm.
until we make it a habit, So and right now we're full of
Mhm.
bad habits.
Mhm.
So if you're getting up and you're
Right.
feeling, you say all these ugly things about yourself every day, not even knowing it, and just kind of laughing it off, like, oh, I'm so this and I'm so this, and my hair is this way, and da da da, and I wish I didn't have this house, and this raggedy this, and just all of these negative things all day
Mhm.
long. What are you gonna do? You're attracting more of that to your life. So you have to first have the
Right.
desire to change, then you have to go about the business of changing, you know.
I love that. Yeah, that's good. And that language thing is really key because, that sets the tone for, what you believe and how you respond and act based on
Yeah,
what it is that you
absolutely.
say, because we have the ability to decree a lot of things. So this is some great nuggets, and I'm hoping people are taking notes now. So, as a John Maxwell trainer and speaker, what advice would you give people who are in this space? Their industry is changing. They're going to have to
Mhm.
pivot, be it maybe they were in person, now they're online, or just the mindset that they need to have
Mhm.
post pandemic, in their industries in order to embrace change. What would
Yeah,
you say to
just
them?
always keep growing and learning, because like you have your
Mhm.
basic principles and everything, but you have to also
Mhm.
know what's relevant, and always stay in learning mode, you know. Technology is
Mhm.
great. It's like I was talking with somebody the other day, and we were talking about like opportunities, business opportunities, or schools and stuff like this. This is the
Mhm.
time more so than ever for you to learn the things that you need to learn. Like if it's technology, learn how to incorporate that into your business. You see a lot of people doing like fitness online now, a
Mhm.
lot more so than before, because, and when
Mhm.
you think about it, you saving money. You're not going out. So it's the
Mhm.
same thing. Now is a time to do a lot of strategic brand building, not so much as selling, because
Mhm.
you want to identify who's your audience. So once you do that, then you take your audience
Mhm.
into platforms that are like the Zooms, and even a platform like this, having conversations with people, whether it's visual conversations or, written text or whatever it is, just starting to communicate that way,
Mhm.
text messaging. Hey, how about that old fashioned email, or that letter, be as
Mhm.
creative, but then too, a lot of things that we used to do are still relevant today, so it
Mhm.
all works. And
Mhm.
I'm a big believer that, with technology is our friend. Don't be intimidated by it. Remember the first time you saw the computer, it's like, if I touch it, will it break? No, it won't break. Just touch it. It's a restart button, a reset button. Just go for
Amen.
it.
Amen.
If you make a mistake, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Nobody has this thing figured out. We don't know. We're
Mhm.
dealing with an unknown. So we don't know if our normal will ever be normal. We
Right.
don't know what we don't know. And my hope is that this also makes us more that this humbles us and makes us focus on what's important, real
Mhm.
things that are important.
Yeah. I love that. Now, so motivation, so you as a motivation queen, I mean, and I see you, you really are a pillar of strength for your community with all these different platforms that you have. So, what are some things that you do in your daily routine? And I see here earlier from you saying you detox for a few
Mhm.
days with your social media. But what are some things that you do to kind of keep you in that space of recognizing that people are um, counting on you for your motivation, and so for you to be able to
You said
provide
a
that.
mouthful because that's so funny. I have people when I do detox, they be like sending me messages, "Are you okay? What's going on?" La la la. But yeah, what I do, I'm fortunate enough now that I have, I'm not just by myself. So have a team, and if
Mhm.
I do go away, that the
Mhm.
ball keeps moving. Again, we talk about the technology. You have
Mhm.
technology that will help you stay in contact even though you're not there, so um and I have a lot of
Mhm.
content. So even if I'm not going to say do a live or do go to the studio, be recording, I'll just hit a replay. You know, my
Mhm.
things are timeless
Mhm.
because although it's two sides of my business. I work with someone one on one or a company that's different. On Facebook, it's more, I'm doing more mental strength, training, more confidence building, more of that. So
Mhm.
there is videos on like how to, like how to do affirmations, how to breathe, how to do this, how to do that. Because I feel like if we stay connected to our bodies, then everything else works out fine. If keeping that alignment. So the answer to
Mhm.
your question is in keeping up with the community, I'm just available, but sometimes not available, but the information is always there. That's why, we
Mm.
have the winning evening news, and I encourage, like, and you're a contributor as well. You put something in
Mhm.
there, hey, that comes into the group. So people like yourself, being contributors, that helps the community, because
Mhm.
I say, I know Lachelle is bringing us positive
Mhm.
information, so hey, that's acceptable information. So I guard the whole group, but I let people contribute because that helps the entire planet, you know. So that's what we do. Collaboration.
Mm.
Your
Mhm.
your collaborations are more powerful today
Mhm.
than ever before because you do, Lachelle, you need to say, I'm taking a
Mhm.
break, and then trust that you have given your information to where somebody just go hit the replay button. It's like, hey, this is great. This is what I needed, you know.
Mhm.
And then we have our the I Am Enough team. They do a great job there. The Wake Up Winning for
Mhm.
Entrepreneur group, we have contributors in there as well. So I'm not doing this thing by myself. And and that's what really helps
Mhm.
it become more sustainable that way.
I like that. And to me, it's just I hear that you set up a plan for your intentions, and I think that is so key too because a lot of people they will look at your Facebook page after this interview, and wow, she's doing this, she's doing that, and I want to be like her, but not understanding the work and planning
Absolutely.
that goes into creating this empire, so to
Yeah,
speak,
yeah.
that you have
It is.
created. You feel what I'm saying? So mhm, that's an important thing. Now, so the last question is: you have all these things going on, and you're an author. So how is it? A lot of people they have this downtime, plenty of time that they could write a book. But what tips would you give them because you've maintained what you've
Yeah,
got going
and
on and written books,
got one
right?
coming out Mother's Day
So
too.
you see what I'm Oh, awesome. So, what advice would you give them, if you could do it with all you've got going on? What would be the key to getting those
That
books out?
it's not difficult. It's just a decision. So, get what you need,
Mhm.
whether
Mhm.
I know people that have written a book, but they haven't got it published. So it's getting over the fear of being
Oh.
exposed. I think that's a lot of it. Um, or if it come down to the basic writing of the book,
Mhm.
just sit down and have the discipline, do the schedule
Mhm.
to write, have a plan, and get it done. And if you need to
Mhm.
get a coach, because I'm working with a client now. He's in the process of getting his book.
Mhm.
We've already done pre-sales. He's already sold like 30 copies of the book, and we're not even releasing until July 4th. But because I know how to move product,
Awesome.
it's like once we start finishing it, so like, no, we putting this buzz out, and because you have to get a calendar, you got to say, well, hey, I'm gonna write 30 minutes a day, whatever that looks like. But this is
Mhm.
the perfect time to write a book. And I write books. You could write a Philly emotional book, but then too, if you want to monetize your book, then write a book according to whatever your position is. What do you do? So with you being a super mom, I'm sure there's a super mom
Mm.
book out, daily
Mhm.
routine and what it takes and how do you merge these things together. So
Mhm.
now you're taking that product and you're showing people like, hey, this is what I do. Come get this, read it. It produces another stream of income. It opens you up to more
Mhm.
exposure. You become credible, so there's a lot of perks when you
Mhm.
are a published author and not just a writer.
That is so true. That is so true. And so I love the whole thing about,
Mhm.
then you have a platform, you're launching your book. Have programs that spin off your book. So that is really good. So great advice, great tips. So this is just great. So what is the best
The
way
best
for
way to get
the
a hold
audience
to
to get a
me
hold of
is
you?
to email me. And the best email to come through is I am
Okay.
enough talkshow at gmail.com. That's the simplest way. And for
Okay.
your
Okay.
listeners, I'm on all social media platforms, Wanda D. Hollis. You can just find me there, whether it's, all, when I say all social media platforms, I mean all of them, including TikTok. You know, so yeah, so you can find me there. And so that comes for if you want to talk about coaching, writing, business, whatever you want to talk about, just send an
Mhm.
email there and it'll be directed to me.
Awesome. Now, so in conclusion, are there any final words or points that you
Two
want to
things. One thing I want
leave
to
with
tell
the
everybody,
audience?
I do have a book coming out. So, please come and support on that as well.
Mhm.
If anybody's on Facebook, we're going to be doing a marketing campaign through Facebook. It's going to be great. It's titled Stepping in Our Territory. It's
Mhm.
a collaboration with some other dynamic
Mm.
authors, and a great book to help. It's beautiful stories. So I talk about how to win in that book, and I give tips and everything. So in the
Mm.
religions
Mhm.
versus spirituality, it's a lot that just in my little section. So please, support me in that. And my final words would be, simply put, I'm simple and basic. Life is just simple and basic. You just got to figure out
Mhm.
what moves your soul, what
Mhm.
makes you happy, what finding your why is the most important thing that we can do during this time, because our
Mhm.
why will take us where we need to go. Period. And when we do that, when we find our
Mhm.
why, it gives you that
Mhm.
motivation you need, it gives you the courage you need, it gives you the permission that you need for yourself. And it's all focusing on your why.
Mhm.
Self-care, self-love is
Mhm.
something that we have to stay committed to, and God will do the rest. Definitely.
Love that. That was awesome. Yep. Well, thank you so much, Wanda. I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I could really ask you another 7 or 8 questions, but I know we are limited on our time. But I just want to thank you so much for
I am
sharing,
too. I am
and
too.
looking
Thank you
forward
for
to our next
having me, and
collaboration.
you take care of that wonderful family and stay blessed. All right. Thank, thank
All
you. Bye
right,
bye.
you do the same. What a great interview. I really enjoyed my discussion with Wanda, the motivator. So many nuggets. I hope you guys were taking notes. I just got the gist out of this is that there is so much clarity in understanding your why and why you do the things you do, and being focused and setting up yourself for success in those areas. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please email me at info@lachelle.atkins.com. You can also reach out to me through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, or my YouTube channel. Again, if there's anything in this episode that resonated with you, something that was of value that you would love to share with someone else, please share it. It doesn't cost anything, but it could be a lifeline for somebody else who may hear it. Have a wonderful day, and thanks again for listening.